Hello and welcome to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. In this intro, I want to talk about the future of the show. We've had a little bit of a break for the end of season 1 with the time I went back to the UK to see friends and family for the first time in 2.5 years. Isn't that mad? Most of you listening to this are probably going to be in a place where COVID has sort of come and gone. It's sort of a distant memory. Hong Kong, very much not the case. So I had a great time spending time with my friends and family, getting stuff sorted for my wedding next year. It's been a full-on time, but now back in Hong Kong and time to take the podcast to the next level. So with that in mind, I want to make sure now that we provide more interesting interviews and content for you guys than ever before. And we're going to look at upping that production quality. So this is going to be the first of many episodes with Rob. Rob has been one of the most regular guests on the podcast and one that's proven very, very popular. Both me, I love chatting to the guy, and with you guys. So we're going to get him on every single Thursday to record an episode, meaning that we're going to have some bonus episodes with Rob every week, talking about everything from aliens to conspiracy theories to what's new in the fitness industry. We're also going to get my buddy Steve to come on a regular guest spot to talk about training. We're going to deep dive into periodization, programming, strength training, improving your lifts and everything in between, as well as maybe getting a few live in studio shows for the YouTube version of this podcast. And if you don't already subscribe to me on YouTube, please do. Simon Kingsley Dutton on YouTube. We're going to be putting so much more content on there, not just the podcast, but other things as well. But on to this episode. Me and Rob have our first regular interview where we just talk. It went on so many tangents, but we talk mainly about controversy. Is controversy necessary in a business? Do we need it to get traction? Is the world becoming more controversial, or do we only see the sound bites due to the algorithm? Before going on to some of the more controversial figures in the world today, discussing our views on Andrew Tate and the Liver King. If you enjoy this episode, please go and follow me and Rob on Instagram, and of course, share and subscribe to us on your favourite podcast platform and on YouTube. And as we are trying to give more free content with you, I would love it if you enjoy the show to please give us a review on iTunes or Spotify and help us get our show out to more people as we can and have more interviews, more guests and more good times. So thank you very much, guys, and I will speak to you soon. So, Robb Mcgeary, welcome back to the show. It's been a while.
It has been not too long, some would say, or not long enough, others might argue. But yes, it has been.
We should have recorded when we were in the UK. We should have booked out a studio and done a proper London Real style episode, Union Jacks and everything.
Because we ranted in that little meetup that we had.
I mean, that rant would probably get us sued, but maybe we won't. Actually, this one might get us sued. Like who like what? Always going to be the
sued, attacked, assassinated, anything.
It's going to happen eventually. I want to know what happens first. We either get David Icke on or we get assassinated. One of these is coming first, right?
Praying for David Icke first. I'd like to hear that one. I'm praying for David Icke.
Did I tell you about the time where he butt dialed me?
Yes, you did. You showed us the message in your video calling back.
People listening to this and don't know this, I was on a night out, right? And I was quite a few beers deep. And I was stumbling down the road to my flat. And I pick up my phone and it said it had 4 missed Instagram calls. I'm like, none of my friends call me on Instagram. So I open up Instagram, go on messages. Like David Icke calls me. First thing you do when David Icke calls you, you just go, especially drunk, is I'm going to call him back. Like, no response. But I wish I picked up at the time.
Hey, imagine what could have been going on the other end. That's incredible.
Either he answers and I have a really cool conversation, we get him on the show, or it's a butt dial and who knows who he's talking to.
You could have heard some real esoteric secrets then. Could have learned a lot from whoever he was talking
I don't think Dave is the one that keeps these secrets quiet. I think he's the one that exposes all the secrets.
Of course, yeah. God, his show. I never went. I was going to go. His show at Wembley was like 8-9 hours long, if not longer. Not longer. Just him, just constantly going. Like, man, that geezer's got stamina. That geezer can talk.
How old
similar
is
to like Alex Jones and that, he must have a lot going on. He's got to be in his 60s, surely. Just thinking about, let me have a quick little Google. Just thinking about the time that he first sort of started appearing Well, he was a commentator before, wasn't he? Jesus, 70. Go on, lad. 70 and he's still going.
I mean, Alex Jones, he might get a bigger audience now to iconic the fact that Alex Jones is probably about to be arrested.
God, yeah, that could go.
That's did you watch the clip I sent you yesterday?
Say again?
Oh, did you watch the clip I sent you yesterday?
The
little YouTube short, and like it.
Yes.
Great. This is great content, right? I'm doing all like in jokes behind the scenes on the first part of this podcast, but it was brilliant. There's a scene from In Court where he goes, so one of the things that you claim is that there are government officials involved in paedophilia, sex trafficking. And he goes, just like Epstein did with the Clintons. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's such a badass man.
He's a man that could be innocent, that can make himself sound more guilty than ever before.
It's crazy.
If you watch him on Rogan,
it's an interesting character. I've followed Jones for close to 9/11. Like you could almost say he was like my gateway drug into the conspiracy realm.
He's your animal.
I can't keep taking this one. It's a bit too much. I'll be feeling shit for weeks. But yeah, he's got all his Rogans. I'm sure I've got them saved somewhere because obviously Spotify took at least one of them down. Oh man, I've got several of his DVDs somewhere. Like he's similar to what Rogan has said. There's a lot he's wrong about, but there's a hell of a lot he's right about as well. So I think in that respect, he's worth listening to at least. You don't have to go completely. You don't have to be completely obsessed with him. Again, this is relative to some of the characters we're going to talk about today. You don't have to look at Alex Jones as the prophet, the guru, because he's going to get a lot of stuff wrong at the same time. But
I think with like Alex Jones, he's one of those things like he makes himself hard to believe. So like obviously the stuff he is that is generally going to be hard to believe as it is, but he every time I'm Rogan, I get so frustrated with him because there's so many times he's right and he comes on with no research. I don't have research for that. I was like, you're making yourself look like an idiot when you're actually not as dumb as you come across.
It's like the geezer's whatever the geezer's got going on up here. So if you ever watch his show, he'll go on these big rants and he'll just shout all these statements out. Whereas a more rational person would say something and then potentially, have the opportunity to back up their claim. Or if they've got someone opposite them, they might ask, better questions about how to prove that. The clip that went viral of him years ago where he was screaming, they're putting chemicals in the water, turning the frogs gay. And everyone's like, who the hell is this absolute nutter? When in a way there is some truth to that statement, but it's not as sensationalist as that.
I mean, how does it change our lives if the frogs are gay?
I'm sure in some way it's similar to the bees.
Oh, okay, so they're gay too, are they?
There's too many gay frogs. Something happens elsewhere, which has a knock-on effect to this flower or this thing or this thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows?
Do you think Alex Jones is like some of the stuff is so specific that I think he does know stuff? But do you think he's often right, or do you think it's like The Simpsons? If you throw a lot of stuff at the wall, you're going to be right every now and then.
In terms of politically, who's corrupt, who's in each other's pockets, in terms of corporations, military, special operations, all these different things, he's 100% correct on every single level there. Is he necessarily correct on a lot of the more left field conspiracies that he's saying? I mean, obviously Sandy Hook, we've seen him being heavily sued. What was it, 150 million? 150?
And there's interest, if I hear, I could be ruining this, so don't quote me on this, but I think there's interest based off the amount of times he did it, like huge defamation cases.
Oh my God, it's so bad. I won't say anything about Sandy Hook, but some of the 9/11 ones related to who was making money out of the attacks, those sort of things, what intelligence was flawed, how surveillance, the Espionage Act was going to come into play, and it came into play, and it was exactly what he said it was going to be. There's a lot of stuff he is correct on. In terms of corruption, in terms of finding those ties, I'm sure he is probably very well connected in some way, shape, or form. And there's an argument that maybe he is part of them and it just drips feed info out there to create more terror and chaos. I don't know. Obviously, no one knows except the people behind the scenes there. But obviously, he can go really, really flipping crazy. And the last couple of Rogans he was on, he's talking interdimensional, child sacrificing creatures that are trying to break through from this dimension and into the next. And I'll be brutally honest, I believe it all anyway. But not everyone's ready. Not everyone's ready to go that deep and go, oh yeah, okay, right, okay, got it. Interdimensional. Like you could look at 9/11 and go, okay, these people made money from shorting the stock of the flights going. These people suddenly got military contracts, all sorts of stuff. You can go, okay, I see the links. I see this is believable. But when there's something where you can't see a link, such as interdimensional demons trying to come through and harvest our children, a little less.
Always the children, isn't it? These poor little kids. It's like,
goes back to Simpsons. Someone please think of the children. Doesn't matter what rationality you have to your argument. If you're not thinking of the children.
Kind of ruins the Titanic. You put women and children first just to get harvested by these interdimensional demons. Let the men get off the boat.
At the moment
they're going to be safe. No one wants the men. The women don't want them, especially if they're white. The women don't want the men. The rest don't want the men. The demons don't want the men. No one wants them.
No one wants the men.
No one wants
the kids and then the women. Have you seen that? I want to say it's Billy Zane. I always forget the actor's name. It's Billy Zane who's in Titanic. And he plays Kate Winslet's fella.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
The boats and they go women and children first, and he's carrying the crying kid. And there's a big meme going around at the moment of them going women and children first, and he says, I identify as a woman. That's happening. We've seen that in Ukraine. That's happening. People going to the border and saying, only women and children can leave the country. I identify as a woman. And Ukraine going, no, it's not good enough. Back to the front line you go. Tool up. Let's do this.
Do you think these things... Like, going to the first layer of this, do you think when we look at wokeness, this is a different type of controversy that's what will be the main topic of this. When we look at sort of wokeness and extreme right or left wing views, do you think this is generally getting more apparent in today's world? Because it seems like it. Or is it that social media algorithms push that? Like, if you go down a flat earth echo chamber, you'll see nothing but flat earthers. If you don't like the big pro-trans arguments, you'll see tons of them. So is there more of it, or are we just aware of more of it?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a self-perpetuating cycle that we see more of it that doesn't necessarily mean more of it is happening. So you could say like that we see like crime. We've now got video cameras in our pockets 24 hours a day. We could say the levels of UFO sightings, without looking at statistics, we could say the levels of UFO sightings are increasing because more people are showing photos of UFOs. We could say knife crime is increasing because people are taking videos of more knife crime going on. And the social media algorithms feed this stuff that you're likely watching. But that's, again, take that away from any sort of actually looking at statistics of what's happening with knife crime and UFOs, both of which are rising anyway. You're then in this cycle of, depending on what you watch on social media, being fed more and more and more of those videos. So it's suddenly going to seem like more of it is happening. But then when you get out in the real world, I don't know. Like we'll take trans, for example. I've not seen a single trans person that I was aware of at the time trying to argue what bathroom they should be allowed in or not allowed in. I don't know, but obviously that's a huge argument online. The number of people that are transitioning, I work in Soho, right? I would say it looks exactly the same as it did 10, 20 years ago. It's guys walking around in dresses, whatever they identify as, they may identify, they may not. Either way, it's a biological male in a dress, either way. Does that person identify as trans, or is it just these guys who were always there walking around wearing dresses? I don't know. But do I go into Soho and I'm flooded by these images? Not at all. It looks no different to how it always looked. A ton of tourists, a lot of Japanese, and that's it. And then a handful of these sort of scattered around. I don't see anything different. And that's the London central hub, really, of where those guys and girls can go and feel safe, I guess, because it's the community. Obviously, there's other areas of London as well. I don't know if it is actually, if we are getting more of it, or as we create bigger profiles of guys like Jordan Peterson and things like that who talk about this stuff. And again, more clips of him will go viral it gives it the illusion that more and more of this stuff is actually happening. But again, you turn off the TV, you turn off your phone, and just look around. You're like, is anything happening?
Exactly. It's interesting. It's interesting you brought up like people like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and people like this talking about it more openly. In the sense of, I never thought about, like, when you look at the wokeness, you think of what perpetuates it is the extreme side of this. It's the trans teachers saying the kids should be able to be, identify as a gender from the age of 2 and get surgery from the age of 10 and all this mad bullshit. But I never really thought about, actually, am I seeing more of it because, Brett Cooper, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson talk about it, than I am actually seeing it? And I'm probably, if I think about it, yes, I am.
And there's also, you've got to take a little bit of Chinese whispers into account as well. I don't know if that's a politically correct term anymore or not. But if you think, let's say it's one school, one teacher is teaching, I don't know, 5-year-old kids about gender fluidity or whatever. And there's outrage because this teacher shouldn't be teaching that. Now, obviously, that's going to get on social media. That's going to get in the media. And 5 steps down the line, that's going to change from one teacher's doing this in a class to suddenly schools are teaching. It's just how the beast works, whether that is just Chinese whispers or whether the media goes, right, this is how we can push this story even further. Let's just add an S to school and suddenly everyone's going to freak the hell out. Because again, like the attention is, I read this great phrase the other day, we're in an attention economy. So we've shifted from the economy being about exchange of trade to then it became the information economy with the internet. And now it's the attention economy. We're buying, we're vying, we're auctioning for people's attention because they're likely to then buy our thing that we're selling, invest in us, rather than us providing the best information. And we're seeing this in the fitness industry, of course. It's horrific in the fitness industry. So it's just the case of now, what can we do? It's how can they push that clickbait title a little bit further? How can I make it more sensationalist? Well, we'll just, lie a little bit because no one's going to check. It's going to have gone viral before it gets debunked. And no one cares about the debunking except the people that want to be right on the other side. It's gone viral. It's too late. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. The sensational thing's interesting, as well as like is people creating channels based on their most extreme views. I generally think most people are somewhere in between left and right, and even the most extreme people. And if you ever look at, if you ever look at watch Ben Shapiro talk, the only thing that puts me off his stuff is that everything's to blame for the other side. Yeah. It's far right. Yeah. And I'm like. Yeah, like, is it like, is it that you have a true enemy here, and it probably has not? They probably don't agree with the stuff you're moaning about anyway. They just have those views because these are as extreme as extreme. It is the American politics equivalent of I don't like anyone who has a burqa because there was once a Muslim terrorist. Like, obviously ridiculous. Obviously, that's not true of most of those people. But it's that similar sort of thing of to try and get aggression and sides and bribes, which is I think is worrying. And I think it's interesting you mentioned about an attention economy, because that's something I think I think it's fascinating because I see Instagram going more and more towards Reels, and the Instagram's going towards Reels, and YouTube is going more towards Shorts to vie for attention. And it's harder with long content. I listened to Chris Williamson recently talk about his podcast. Like, the shorts are the thing that gets more eyes on the channel. But podcasting is booming, which means there is still a huge demand for long form content. We're even at the extremes for that. Like, why do you think it is that we're either into no attention or really long attention?
If you think about it, you can go further than that. I recently restarted my Audible account because there's a few books that you just can't get paperback. I'm not a big fan of ebooks or reading ebooks on my phone. I'd rather listen to the audiobook. It kind of hit me that, man, like these books are like 8 hours, some 15 hours long. Obviously, it's rare to find someone who's going to sit and listen to that in one go. But if long form attention was dead, then Audible and audiobooks wouldn't be pushing these things. Amazon would have found a way to do short ebook, I don't know, the one chapter or the best bit out of that chapter or something like that. They would have figured something out. So I think it all comes down to the type of person as well. Some of us have a real interest in a subject and we want to go deeper down it. So therefore, our attention span is going to be higher for that thing we want to go down. The reels, the shorts, it's almost just like the headline or the book title for that article. It's just to give you that, are you interested in this? Cool. And then certain people will go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. Let's say it's just a clip of Ben Shapiro saying something, whether it's true, whether it's controversial, whatever the hell it is, or one of the clips at his speeches where he's having a pop at someone. And then to someone who's never seen that before, who's not necessarily thought about that subject before, might think a little bit deeper about it, might want to delve deeper to find out more about that, or they might just wholeheartedly agree in one small soundbite, share that because they want other people to know that's their opinion, or they think it's funny, or whatever it is, and then the cycle keeps spiraling on. But I think it all comes down to what your value system are. Some people just don't value information. Some people just don't value, I don't want to say self-development, but just learning, education. And those who do will seek out podcasts, longer forms of content, watch longer videos on YouTube. But to be fair, when I go on YouTube, I go straight off the short screen now because that's the first thing that comes up now. They're very clever. It's the first thing that comes up. I go on YouTube for very specific videos, which are a lot longer. It's normally re-recording of some webinar or a podcast, the video version, or something I want to see, something like that. In terms of podcasts, I listen to Lex Fridman's a lot, and his on the average are like Rogan's, like 3 hours, if not over. And sometimes I sit there going, man, that was over too short, too soon. I want to listen to it again. I love the Rogan ones where it goes on and on and on, as long as the person on the other side of the table is interested. Yeah, depending on the subject, sometimes just that hour and 15 can be perfect. It's almost refreshing. I guess it depends on the subject and what your values are around it, really.
Yeah, 100%. The thing that worries me sometimes about shorts is just that we're now in a world where sound bites are taken at face value more than ever. And when you go to cancel culture, how rare is it you see someone trying to cancel someone where they've actually watched all of their work? It never happens anymore. Ricky Gervais had this recently with his latest thing, getting a lot of heat. No one watched it. I remember I posted some, I think it was a Ricky Gervais thing, but I had somebody comment on my Instagram saying, I can't stand him. And I went, have you watched any of his stuff? No, I've never been able to bring myself to do it. Well, how do you know?
Exactly. It's the same with Dave Chappelle. They tried to cancel Dave Chappelle over the trans jokes in what was a 2-hour special. Only a 5-minute bit was the trans jokes. And there's a lot of decent stuff in there. And there's a lot of, I would almost say, more controversial stuff. Some of these other things that he's speaking about. But it's the group you're allowed to take the mick out of and the group you're not allowed to.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's we're in this weird world where the whole argument is that you can't be offensive to whatever group. But it's very uneven. And let's put the men thing aside, because I know some people are going to oh god, they're going to talk about men always being the butt of the jokes. But you could talk about severe illnesses, you could talk about terrorism, you could talk about anything like that. But you take one joke about a trans person going to the toilet, and you're getting slammed. And I'm like, there's a massive. Someone takes the mick out of like HIV and cancer. Yeah, fair game, mate. Someone takes the mick out of a trans person going to a urinal. What are you doing?
Lord, did you see Salman Rushdie the other day got attacked?
Oh, yes, I don't know much about this.
So you can't say, so it was a, I know we're not going to get cancelled, but I'll choose my words carefully. It was whatever they call it, a fatwa or a jihad, whatever the hell it is, whatever the Muslim clerics put on him years and years and years ago, this guy was acting out on that. That's what he was doing. And there's other guys who he's close to come out on social media supporting this. It was a great attack. They're having a pop at J.K. Rowling now as well, saying you're next.
Nothing to do.
But big. So essentially, that is. I really hope it. Essentially, that's a type of Islamic terrorism. That's not really. It's not really an act according to the true religious texts. Oh. I'm sure. So therefore, it is an act of terrorism. But is everyone now speaking out against Islamic terrorism because Salman Rushdie's been clearly stabbed in public? Or is everyone kind of going, Homer Simpson hiding into the bushes? Of course, because you can't. So even though there's that in public, but again, you make well, as poor J.K. Rowling is kind of seeing, you say something about trans and you will get some very aggressive. Was he getting death threats, getting all sorts?
I remember he had a book that came out where there was a transvestite. There's always a transvestite. It wasn't, it wasn't a trans person in the sense that was the murderer in one of her books. And people came out in arms of like, how dare you make a transvestite? What are you saying about these people? Like white male people have been murderers in books for decades. Women have been murderers in books. Like, how is it more offensive? Like, you saying transvestites can't be serial killers? Because I tell you what, Norman, I know it's not a real serial killer, but Norman Bates, like, what's the difference? People revere Psycho, but J.K. Rowling in the modern age can't write about it.
I would love to. Well, I wouldn't. I say I'd love to, but I wouldn't. And I think it shows that I'm very careful who I choose as my friend circle. But I don't know anyone who actually gets that triggered over this stuff. I have a few Facebook friends that certainly act like they do, but I don't necessarily believe they do. I think they just want to join in the noise and feel like they're doing something and feel a bit vindicated, but they're certainly not the people that are reading that book and going, oh my God, a transvestite is a killer. You can't have that. But they will likely be the ones that share the news article or whatever later down the line.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? How much is virtual signaling?
Yeah.
Virtual signaling goes both ways, right? It's Disney making all their logos rainbow flags, but not in Saudi Arabia. And it's people putting black squares for Black Lives Matter. I remember when that happened. Obviously, no horrendous thing that happened, right? I can't stress that enough. And everyone put the black squares. And when I first went on Instagram, I was like, I saw these, like, everyone with their blacked out profile pictures, and I was like, have I got a bug? Like, is Instagram broken? At no point did I was aware of what the horrendous thing that happened to George Floyd. So I was just thinking, my Instagram's broken. Yeah. And so I mentioned I did post because I refuse to put a black square because it does nothing. But if you share with me, people of color sharing their opinions on this that are making a true stance, I will repost it. Sure. That does something. Putting a black square that no one knows what it even means does anything.
No, exactly. And it's funny to see how many later down the line, how many girls especially, then went back and deleted that black square because it messes up their Instagram grid. Kind of all these filtered selfies and then a black square. I mean, no, can't have that. Can't have that.
With all this, do you think that you need a little controversy to be able to have a niche? Do you think it's an important part of social media, or do you think it does more harm than good?
It's who decides what's controversial or not. If you think about it, controversy is only ever something that's said that goes against yours or someone else's opinion, even though it is an opinion, whether that person means it or not, or whether they're just genuinely trying to cause controversy. You could say James Smith is controversial. The fitness industry circles that I've mixed in for a long, long time, James Smith's information is kind of bland, really. Certainly not on the controversial side of the spectrum, I would put it. I could give you a long list of people way, way, way further down that line that I would deem potentially controversial in the industry. So I guess it comes down to what you value, how you take that information in, what you've believed for X amount of time, because that's another thing. It's challenging beliefs, really. Like you could. So one of my clients is heavily involved with the electric car industry or the energy industry. He blew my mind the other day saying that by 2030 in the UK, we're on track that everyone's car will be electric. I was like, nah, of course, you're not going to get everyone buying electric cars. And he's like, it is. The companies are working with us. All these engine-based ones are going to be phased out and everyone's going to be on electric by 2030 and it's on track. Now, lorries, vans and bikes apparently are not on track. So if you've got a lorry, van or a bike, you're fine. You keep driving stick. But saying something like that goes against the belief system that I thought I'd always have, that I'd always have a manual car because I enjoy driving a manual car and I like an engine. And I like that driving experience. And a mate of mine rented a Tesla recently and we went in it and it's weird. I don't know if I'd enjoy something like that long term. So in a way, you could say that's a controversial opinion because it highlighted something in my head that I'm wrong. I always thought I'd have this car and I'm not going to. Something else is going to happen outside of my choice. But again, it's not, if you shared that as an article, it's not really going to go viral because a lot of people are just going to go, doesn't really affect my life right now, does it? again, it comes back to where are these people coming from that are triggered by something that is not affecting their life. I don't want to go too deep into it, but part of me thinks that a lot of it is just from media manipulation, that no one has ever actually genuinely triggered by this stuff, but they know X amount of people will virtue signal and will share and aid in the virality and the mob mentality sort of stuff. And all it takes is that one spark at the beginning. And the media, knowing both sides inside out because of all the research they do and all the data they have on everyone, can just sit there and create this. But again, that's, in a way, you say that's controversial because I have no real evidence of that. But it's do we need well, if we took away all controversial opinions, we just have boredom and everyone believing the exact same thing. And that's not a society. Eventually the same thing would happen because someone has to have a different opinion.
I think controversy is necessary, but I think for it to be necessary, truly necessary, it needs to be controversy from every side. I don't want selective controversy because controversy is subjective, right? We look at the Rogan and CNN incident last year, and they were like controversial podcast host Joe Rogan. I wouldn't particularly call him a controversial podcast host, but that wording fitted into their narrative of the way they wanted to portray Joe Rogan. So I think like the problem is with controversy on social media, in my eyes, is that it's often selective.
Yeah.
Controversy one way is banned. Controversy one way is it becomes viral.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And that's the thing. Do you feel with your posts, because I mean, when you're on social media, you don't shy away from conspiracy theories, aliens, no-fap and everything in between, right? No-fap and aliens. And do you feel your controversial posts get more engagement? And have you ever had like a negative experience from saying something controversial? Because I'm sure there's people out here that worry about being themselves on social media now because they feel they're going to get backlash. Yeah. But how likely actually is it? Like, have you ever had a negative backlash from anything you said?
So I've had negative backlash, but never from my more esoteric, weird things. So I talk about aliens a lot because I talk about aliens a lot. When I'm with my friends, I talk about aliens a lot. We talk about aliens a lot. Or we talk about UFOs specifically. We talk about alternate timelines, different dimensions. We're mucking around, but we're also trying to get a bit of a greater understanding on what reality actually
Spoiler for future episodes of the show, by the way, because I want to chat aliens with you for an episode.
Oh, bruv. So we got some good stuff to chat about. Oh, my God.
That's next week.
That'll be next week. So we'll do a live one from the field me and my mate go to and try and manifest one. But that's a story for another day.
I'll be 13 hours, mate. I'll see you soon.
We manifested a ghost. She was in flip-flops. But
what?
It's a long story.
Okay. Next week, you're telling that story. And now I'm going to try and cut this clip so people tune in to next week's show in masses.
We tried to manifest a UFO. We may have seen an armada of UFOs in the distance, but we definitely saw a female ghost in flip-flops, denim shorts, and she wouldn't make eye contact with us. It was weird. It was really weird. But yeah.
Probably knows you don't fap.
Aliens taught me no fap, man. That's what you get. So back to your original question.
Yeah, back to backlash.
The ones I've had backlash are the ones where I'm more controversial with the excuses people make. And I've seen this with some of my friends' posts as well. You call out people making excuses, call out people being lazy, call out people using adrenal fatigue as a thing or blaming their thyroid, even though they've never had a blood test done in their life.
Starvation.
Suddenly you get backlash. You'll get backlash from people saying, well, it must be easy. Someone said I had, what did they call it? Like fitness, slim body privilege or something like that. Even though I've worked my ass off for the last 10 years to make sure I'm in the best possible health I could be. It's slim body privilege. Something like that. It was something stupid. In fact, it had the word privilege in it, and this bird was obese. I was instantly like, okay.
How many privileges are you collecting now? White slim body privileges? You got a lot of privileges.
Straight white male slim body privilege. I need a few more. Do you remember Scouts? I want to get the whole sleeve of
and badges all the way down.
And when they do, you get some people, social justice warriors, or just white knights, as I've known them to be called, that try and come in. Don't necessarily have those answers, those issues themselves. You get two types: the people like this girl who was obese, or someone else who she commented saying, she took the mick out of the way I talk. I'm from Essex. That literally is like rubber off a wall. I'm from Essex. You cannot take the mick out of our talk because I know how I talk because I'm from Essex. So she was moaning that, again, I was being privileged or whatever, and I need to be more empathetic. And if I'm a PT, I need to think about these issues. Not everyone's the same and all this. I don't know why with this one I chatted back, because normally I don't. I just leave it, or I'll put, hope you're okay, because if someone's jumping on your post and attacking you a little bit, something's going on with them. Yes. So I just put, I hope you're okay, and left it. And but no, this one I wanted to kind of talk back a little bit. And as it went back and forth, she was saying how she's a single mum, she's got kids, she cares for her parents, and she works. And as she's talking, she's saying, I get to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, I watch my diet, all this stuff. And she's saying, but I can't lose that last 10 pounds of weight. And I read a thing going like, everything I was saying about excuse making, you're showing that to be true. You've got kids, career, single mum, parents that you're looking after, but yet you can still get to the gym 3, 4 times a week and you're looking at your diet. Okay, granted, the last 10 pounds is something wrong with your diet. Maybe you need to tweak something. Maybe the exercise, maybe it's recovery, whatever the hell it is. We know there's an answer there that will fix it. But you've just kind of proven my point. But because you saw the clickbaity, these are the excuses people make talking about thyroid and that, you got annoyed, you got triggered because someone else has told you to, and you've jumped on my post and you're having a pop. Even though you're the exact, you're agreeing with what I was saying all along. I don't get it. I've seen other friends do the similar things. That's those sort of subjects, people jump on it. I think when you talk about aliens and UFOs, people are less likely to jump on going, no, you're talking bollocks, you feel shit. They're just going to go, this geezer's a bit weird, swipe off. Unless they're interested in it, or unless they're having a really bad day, and then they'll jump on. If you do it on TikTok, you get 14-year-old kids calling you amazing. It's incredible. I love TikTok. Got an army.
I can't get on board with TikTok. I really can't.
It's Tate Talk now. It's Tate Talk. It's not TikTok. You can't watch anything else on TikTok without seeing Andrew Tate every second.
I can't watch anything on anything without seeing Andrew Tate. YouTube, Instagram, like recommend on everything. You know,
Tate Talk.
I'm gonna come on to Andrew Tate in a second, but I remember one. It was a really interesting one. I posted when we had the Sarah Everard thing, which was again a horrendous thing, and I posted up a video about we all need to keep help keep women safe, which is obviously a very, very important point. And it was sort of me a supportive way at sort of biting back a little bit at the not all men thing, because obviously we get a lot of stick, and not us personally, but men in general for saying, well, we're not saying it's not all men, but you are. I was like, more men probably want to help, and this is my video. More men probably want to help, but they feel they're going to get breathed down the neck when they do. If the message was less, all men need to do better, and men, we know most of you are good out there. We need your help to stop these small percentage of men that are scumbags. I think you'd have so many people supporting the cause, and I think you hurt your own case by marginalising the majority of people that could support you, not because they don't care, but because they know how much it's going to be more hassle than it's worth. Yeah. And so I made this point, got a good traction, got shared, all this kind of thing, and then I moved on to it, posted it, and then I later on I shared a video with someone that was on I did a webinar, and obviously he had a bad track record with some woman on my social media feed who replied to me going, I can't believe you posted this great video about being pro women and then you post about this lad, and I'm like, hold on, my social media story was great talk learning about training modalities or something like that. Great webinar. And I'm like, I didn't go, hey, this lad, great trainer, perfect womanizer. I can separate the two. Do I agree with how he may have lived his personal life? It's not my place to judge, but I don't know if it's something bad. But the two can be separate. You don't, I can have people in my circle and not be completely against the cause. And that's soundbiting at its best.
No, that's what people struggle to do. They struggle to make that separation. Whether it's that thing that you just described, whether it's, God, man. So I've some very lefty liberal I'm not going to call them friends, but acquaintances on social media that will, as soon as there's any sort of, they won't listen to Michael Jackson anymore because of the claims, even though nothing's really solidly proven, really. They won't listen to Michael Jackson. And for me, I'm like, okay, Geezer did that, but I can separate him from some of the greatest songs ever flipping written in the world. You could do that with Gary Glitter, I guess.
Rock and roll, Gary Glitter. I still think it's a great song.
It's them great. It's some banging songs.
I'm not going to play the didgeridoo anytime soon, though.
You can separate the two. I could take the fact that Alan Aragon had his own, issues a few years ago, but yet he's taught me some of the most long-standing nutritional beliefs and methods that I've had the entire time.
I have an exception to this rule, though. I can't listen to Lost Prophets anymore.
So I never listened to Lost Prophets to begin with.
You're probably lucky.
But I get it, because I get it. When you listen to Michael Jackson, you might not be able to separate from the song because you're just hearing that. But obviously with Ian Watkins, we know for a fact what happened, and it was pretty goddamn horrific. I guess that is almost a little bit like, you just reminded Lost Prophets, you instantly go to that news article and...
So speaking about people with very controversial opinions about women, you mentioned Andrew Tate recently. And so I recently posted... What made me inspire me to message you and go, this is what we're going to have our show about, is I recently posted up my story about listening to a podcast with Andrew Tate. I didn't know much about the guy, really, up until that point. I saw little clips of him, but I didn't know what he was about. And I thought, long-form content, I don't want to make an opinion on someone based on sound bites like we've spoken about. And it was the most engaged story I've ever had since my engagement.
Wow.
And just people, and literally it was just people, save your time, he's a dick, and stuff like this. And like, what do you think of the man? And why do you think people are so captivated by him at the moment?
So again, he's come around at that time where there is this divide between the genders and a divide between different classes of men, what a man should be, arguments about masculinity. He's come at the absolute perfect time, riding off of the back of such as Jordan Peterson, these red pill forms, which is probably how a lot of older guys came across him. Obviously, the younger guys are seeing the soundbitey stuff off social media, TikTok, Shorts, etc., and the podcast that he's appearing on as well. But he's been around for, I don't want to say when the Big Brother he was on, not that I've ever watched an episode of it, but he was in Big Brother or some sort of reality TV show like that. But obviously, I think back then he was just a kickboxer and he had these webcam studios or something like that. But obviously, as he's making more money and flexing it over social media, and certain type of guys love that flex, they love seeing guys with hot women, expensive cars because they want to be that person. Suddenly they decide that's their guru. They have to listen to what this guy says. So in terms of marketing, the guy's a genius. You could call it black hat marketing. I think that's the bad one. The sketchy one. Or you could just assume he's a complete con man. I know he's had several programs out before that people have paid a lot of money for that have not really paid off, but you could say that about fitness business coaches as well. Really.
You can say that about most businesses. How many people have failed businesses before they find something that they land on, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing.
So the geezer knows how to get attention, like incredibly. Whether I don't know if there is any truth to this. I don't know if it's again that sort of thing of people just seeing one thing and not looking at the whole picture. His Hustlers University program. I was arguing with this guy the other day that apparently you join it, and the first thing you're told to do is to start making TikToks about Andrew Tate, and so almost pyramids, and to get more people in the Hustlers University. So almost pyramid scheme-ish.
Do you think it is a pyramid scheme, or do you think it's a legit moneymaker?
You go a little bit deeper, there's a lot of decent information in there. There's guys teaching you how to copyright. There's guys teaching you how to freelance multiple things. There's guys teaching you crypto as well, which I haven't been in that part of the forum. It was 49 quid. So I was like, let's just have a look, see what's in it.
You actually sign up to Hustlers University?
I did it, yeah. It's 49 quid. So I was like, let's just have a look, because it says all these different things. And at the time I joined, I was into crypto. So I'll look at any resource, because if there's one thing I can take away from it, I was starting my copywriting business as well. And I know the guy who does the copywriting in there is pretty good. I know the guy who runs the freelance thing. I followed him on Twitter for years and he's pretty damn good. So I was like, let's have a look. You go into those rooms, you could, if you followed exactly what they're saying and you were patient and you were consistent as a freelancer, obviously that means many, many different things. As a copywriter, as a Amazon drop shipper, there's many, many things in there that if you were that way inclined, you could make money from. Now, obviously those resources are elsewhere online as well. but I don't see many of them for 49 quid a month, really, really. But obviously, some guys go in there with that get rich quick mentality, and they want to be Tate's friend and they want to impress him. So they're more likely to go for, well, I love making TikToks anyway. Let's just make TikTok vids. And I don't know, maybe there's a referral affiliate scheme or something like that. I don't know. And that's how they make their money that way. And if that's what they want to do, which it must be working for some, I can't imagine it's going to make many millionaires. And that becomes the argument then. He's saying Jordan Hustler's University, the fastest way to become wealthy. I don't think I've heard him say become a millionaire, but the fastest way to become wealthy. And if you use the resources that are in there that he's providing and you consistently apply it, you're going to, again, it comes back to the fitness industry as well. Anyone's program could be full of absolute crap. You're not going to know unless you join. But in some way, shape, or form, everyone's going to have at least something that if you apply it and follow it, you'll lose some weight. You may not get in the absolute best shape of your life, but you'll lose some weight. And then it becomes a case of whose program are you going to join? Well, you're probably going to join the person you see most on social media that you know, like, and trust the most, or maybe you agree with their controversial opinions, and you're more likely to go with that person. With Tate, he's obviously very, very... He's very marketable because of the things he says. Because again, in this current climate, gender climate, masculinity climate, he's saying stuff that people want to hear. Arguing about women's role, arguing about the type of men you should be, arguing about money. And he's putting his name out there. He's on so many different podcasts now. Podcasts I never knew existed. Like, I'm learning about the podcast from Tate. I'm not learning about Tate from the podcast. I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Well, let's watch their stuff for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do not hold Tate as some sort of guru, which obviously some people argued that I did. I believe you take what you can from one single person. There'll be lots of Jordan Peterson I'm sure I don't agree with. There'll be lots of Jocko Willink I'm sure I don't agree with, such as getting up at 4 a.m. There'll be all these different things from all these people you can take one thing from, apply it to your life. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you discard it. Obviously, Tate's considered new, he's considered fresh. He's very much going down the controversial route rather than sitting there and providing information. But again, we're switching from this information economy to the attention economy. Is he wrong to do so? Probably not. And the easiest thing in the world, if you really have an issue with it, is to just not turn on those social media apps. And then you don't see him. He's not outside. There's no billboards. He's not waiting for me at the airport.
It's that old TV story about Howard Stern, though, isn't it? It's like how we have 64% of people that we watch don't like Howard like Howard Stern, and he goes, why do they tune in? Because they want to see what he does next. And then what about the other? What about the rest? Why are they tuning in? Because they also want to see what he does next.
This stuff's been around for decades. We look at Tate as an example, Jordan Peterson, whoever, all these people. Tommy Robinson. Stop talking about Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson doesn't exist anymore. But the left love talking Tommy Robinson. Because I don't hear anyone from the right talking about him. But you go further back. You go to the 90s, controversial rock stars, controversial pop stars, because it got their name out there and you wanted to see what they were doing next. Same in the 80s. You could also, I guess, class it as the 70s, but obviously the reach of media and things like that back then was nowhere near what it was in the 80s and the 90s, and certainly nothing compared to what it was now. So controversy, it doesn't necessarily sell, but it creates attention. And once you've got someone's attention, it's so much easier.
Yeah, he's mastered controversy, though. He's mastered it. Because if we look at some of the things that he's controversial at, we speak about, again, the gender divide you mentioned at the start. He's great controversy about his views there. He's controversy in the sense of he's got in this hustle, outwork everyone mentality when there's this rising work smarter mentality. He's almost becoming, people are comparing him to the new Alex Jones because he goes down the controversy market. Like, he's found all the hot topics of like out there views and he's hitting them all. One by one. And I think it's interesting. Like, it goes back to what we're saying about sound bites, right? That people make an opinion on sound bites. When I listened to that podcast from him, I went, do I agree with everything he said? No. And it's like I was talking about the Malcolm Michael Jackson. Can you separate good bits of information that Andrew Tate has to offer from his potential damaging views? Some people go, well, he has horrendous things to say about men and female dynamics. Okay, but that doesn't change how his valuable his potential work ethic advice might be. And I watched that podcast and went, he's not as out there as I thought he actually was. And when you actually put it into context, it's not that bad. I watched a clip of somebody talking about people who are we look at the controversial people trying to be tribists, but sometimes the people that are fighting against them are just as bad. There's a lot of things on there, these anti-business guru YouTube channels that are basically like saying, this is why you shouldn't go with these people who are conning your money. And there's loads of them now. And they had a pop at Andrew Tate and Hustlers University, and there was a great response. It was a short, so I guess I appreciate that it's a soundbite. But they said, well, yes, it might not be making everybody a millionaire, but if a kid is 16 and he makes $5 a month, and now he's making $2,000 a month, right? That is a life-changing money to him. Like, who are you to suggest that because he's not become a millionaire that he's somehow a failure? I thought that's a really good point from Andrew Tate.
Yeah, it's true. And it all depends how you're getting this attention, right? You can, I think Tate's on Twitter. There's probably a 20th account because he gets banned so many times. But Twitter's weird for banning people anyway. But Twitter's different. You've got this section called Money Twitter. It's like a community. And you name it. There's software as a service people, there's B2B people, there's copywriters, there's salesmen, there's people that are teaching how to do phone calls, there's people teaching how to use Notion, email marketers, you name it. In terms of something that could make you money as a business to consumer provider or a business to business provider, like it's literally like the best network you could possibly be part of. But people will go on Twitter and see someone moaning about this, because again, the algorithm's not learned what you're looking for, what you're on there for. I go on Twitter, I learn more in a day than I do from going on any other social media platform in a week, because Instagram wants to show me everything else that Instagram wants to show me. Facebook, I think, is a bit flat now anyway, because it's not really an algorithm of what it shows you. It's who you're kind of connected to. YouTube's not too bad, but on Twitter, you can see some incredible things. But and they're not really Tate's not really teaching anything that this money Twitter side of things isn't. And there's young guys making a lot of money. You get a 21-year-old kid with his head screwed on making 6 figures a year. You've just created like a king that every other 21-year-old boy is going to want to be like, because this geezer's now going to be able to afford better things. He's working from his balcony in Dubai, or he's on the beach in Bali, whatever, on his laptop, and suddenly it paints an image that a lot of other people want. But because no one's on there saying anything controversial or doing these soundbitey videos, because that's not Twitter, it doesn't get as much controversy or as much attention as the rest of the world does, seeing these videos that Instagram's really, really, really pushing. In terms of the information, it's already there. Andrew Tate's Hustlers University is just providing some of that information in a very, very different way, in a different platform. And why shouldn't he charge for it? It's a businessman. Why the fuck wouldn't
and he could probably charge more for it and still make money.
He could charge more for that. I think that there would be more controversy, more relevant controversy applied to it if he was charging a hell of a lot more. But it's only 49 quid. I see no issue with that. I see zero issue with that. Even if it turns out he gets rid of all that stuff and it's just a TikTok affiliate scheme, it's 49 quid. Come on, man. It's 49 quid. But again, some people are stuck in that trap of, no, you get a job, you get a 9 to 5, you pay into your pension, you ask your boss for your holiday, you get your wife to ask her boss for her holiday, all that sort of stuff. And that's a type of life that a lot of people are happy in and a lot of people are miserable in. And on the opposite side, you've got self-employed freelancers, entrepreneurs that don't see why you would go into that sort of life, forgetting the fact that a lot of people are happy doing so because they thrive on stability and security and safety and that sort of thing in that type of work environment. I forgot the point I was making there, but it's, again, you get a 21-year-old kid who's at university but not really getting anything from it, and he's not really learning anything that's potentially going to serve him in terms of getting a job or his future career path,
while putting himself in debt.
Yeah, or in debt. And there's online programs out there that can teach him how to make money online in this digital economy, which is the way everything's going to go. Have a bit of autonomy, have a bit of sovereignty as well, without having to rely on a boss or a schedule or asking for holiday, that sort of thing. It's certain people, that's the way they have to go, or they'll just end up miserable. Some people have to go into the job realm because they just haven't got that mentality to do self-employed, and they'll end up scared or miserable again and overworked. I saw a great meme the other month about self-employment is, or freelancing, or whatever you want to call it, or the entrepreneurial lifestyle is working 14-hour days to avoid working a 9 to 5. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. I don't work short. I would love to have a 4-hour day. I would love to have my schedule, my productivity nailed down that I could do 4 hours a day, but I don't. But there's so much else I want to do on my businesses anyway, and there's so many clients I want to help. So I don't have an issue working longer. But for me to go into somewhere where it's timed would, and as it always has done, would kill me.
I think 8 hours, I think like you're looking at the 8-hour day, and I think being self-employed, the realistic thing is self-employed, that you change a 8-hour day that's given to you for an 8-hour day where you choose. So I can do 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I have to do that. Or as a self-employed, I can do 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or I can do 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And that's the only thing real different. Everyone thinks it's going to be sipping pina coladas on the beach. In reality, the most funky thing about my work here is about how I can change the color of this light. You know, like, it's not pina coladas on the beach. I promise you that. And sometimes that's more stressful when you go on holiday and you go, the Wi-Fi connection's bad and I've got 12 check-ins to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's until you start building your own business where other people can then do things for you. In which case, you're creating jobs for other people. You're kind of sticking some of them into that cycle yourself. But that's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? You know, there's no one way for people to go, and to try and, again, it comes back to, should there be anything controversial? There's no one way, and to try and force one way on people just creates more unhappiness, more instability, more chaos. You have to recognize. I'm a big believer. You look at the individual first. What does the individual need? And that's the way my politics goes. I'm not a big fan of big government. I'm not a big fan of group politics. Me personally, it's the individual first, because it's the individual that can serve his friends and his family, and that serves the community, and that serves the greater good. Because if you try and sort a group out first, you have to recognize that group is full of individuals. No one's going to be exactly the same as every single other person in that group.
I think it's when you look at that as well, talk about controversial opinions, and it needs to be well-rounded. How does somebody have any idea, from an individual first perspective you mentioned, how does anyone know what they want if they're not exposed to every side of the story? If you're not told that you can work online, you know, if you're not told you could work a 9 to 5, if everything you're told, if you don't have the Alex Jones of the world giving another opinion to this world, how do you make up your mind if you only have one narrative?
Yeah. And it comes back to, like you said, how do you know what that person actually wants? Most people, as an individual, do not know themselves. I can't say I do. I know myself pretty well, but I can't say 100% know myself. And then it's a case of, what does that person want? But you also have to look at, and Chris William talks about this stuff amazingly. I want to say, is it the guy who's talking about memetics? It's do we actually want this, or are we being told what to want, or what we should want to want? And then it becomes a case of, well, God, what do we want? What do we actually want? That's
something that literally plagues my life so much at the moment. One of the reasons why I sort of found, you know, Chris Williamson is that topic of the menopause, right? And like that you get to that bit with your 30s. And I felt that way. I dedicated my life to a basement. In my whole of my 20s, people were going on lads' holidays and everything like this. And I went in, you know, spent time where I didn't see daylight in that basement gym in Shoreditch, right? And I learned a lot from that, and it gave me experiences. But I think if you want to be a Gym 4 PT the rest of your life, that's just admirable career. I'm not saying anything against it. But you get to that point where you're 30, and I'm like, I've missed out on a lot of other things in life. And I want to start looking at getting that back. And you get the dynamic of, well, I've built so much in an industry to now not be sure. Looking at the podcast, looking at this, I don't know where to take the next steps. I'm winging it and seeing what happens as I go along. And you get that, and then you layer on is it what I want, or is it what I'm told to want? You know, you're getting dragged different directions with different opinions of people. And then you just get do you feel you want something because that's all you know? And you can see why people are confused these days, especially blokes, when you look at the
again, this is another topic for the day. We've touched on it, but like the gender differences and how difficult it is to men can't be manly anymore. That it's a very weird time to be a bloke, especially when they're getting into their 30s, 40s, and looking at there's less time to just sort of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
100%, and that's where I'm about to go in November. I'm 40. And I joke that I'm terrified. I'm not terrified, but I am looking at, okay, this has to be a new chapter because now it's 40 to 50. That's an entirely different age, entirely different type of energy, entirely different motives and goals and reasons for wanting things than I had in my 20s. So I need to make sure that what am I doing? Is it serving me, or is it this mimetic side of things? Am I being told what to want here? And again, you can like bringing it back to Andrew Tate for a second. You look at his social media; he's driving fast cars, he's fighting, he's with all these women, and he's sitting there going, "This is amazing. You're stupid if you don't want this." And some people are going to be hook, line, and sinker straight. Yeah, of course, that's the life I want. Why wouldn't I want that? I want to be rich. I want to drive fast cars because that's the cool thing to do. But there's a big argument to be said for chilling at home on a Sunday, having a dinner with 3 kids and your wife that you got an amazing sex life with, and you go for a walk later that day and you all chill watching a movie. That's not driving a fast car, smoking cigars and going to strip clubs and things like that.
No one champions that. When was the last time you heard a YouTube productivity video talk to you about chilling watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Never. It's never the thing.
It's the complete opposite.
Even the work smarter crowd. Even the work smarter crowd do it.
Yeah. There, you could also say there's a big push. No, not necessarily against, but there's a lot of noise on independency. And no, you don't need to be. You don't need to be going down the Western ideal of married and kids and things like that. But if you look at the happiest countries in the world, how they measure this, I don't actually know. If you look at them, there's a big culture of families staying together, working together, communities. We certainly don't have that. There's, especially in Britain, big lack of community at the moment.
But you could argue here, when it comes to that, if you look at the Western society where mental health is maybe more supported, more accepted, people, certainly in Britain, where if you did any of these survey questions in Britain to decide what people are happy, the people generally are quite negative. Like you go to America, like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, man, I'm amazing. And you go to Birmingham, you go, how you doing? I'm a bit shit. So is it that are we doing this and we asking people are they happy and asking questions to dictate whether they're happy? Where there's probably going to be a negative slant in it, or people are more likely to tell you about the problems in certain parts of the world. In certain parts of the world, people are probably still demonize getting for help. So they're not going to, no matter what question you ask them, they're going to tell you everything is fantastic. Yeah.
And you've also got to take into account there'll be a large male population still that would be like, well, of course I'm happy. I'm a man. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to moan about things. Okay, things are shit, but that's just how life is. So I'm going to tick the happy box. Who's not necessarily happy. We also have to take into account the great British sarcasm of, guys that will still put Jedi Party on political forms who they're voting for.
That's how you dictate happy. The person that puts Jedi on a political form, he is the happy one, right? The people that put yes and no at conform probably aren't as happy as the person that puts Jedi.
You've got to, this is the thing. Is anyone ever really truly putting what they mean on those things? But again, it also comes back to what's spoken about. That individual. Okay, so in the UK, yes, things are getting better in terms of how much support you can have if you know where to go for it. And we push a lot of mental health charities, and celebrities do a lot of things with mental health charities. A lot of awareness going on. Whether it's working or not, I don't know. I don't think it is, but that's a topic for another day. But you've also got guys that in that circle it's not spoke about. Why would I talk about my mental health? Let's go down the pub and have a few drinks to talk about football. Why would I talk about mental health? It's a bit weird. Nothing's wrong. So could you say that person is, well, in a way you could say that person is happy. I'd say they're in denial, but you could say they're happy, because if what they're doing is working for them, how can you say that?
You're also assuming happy here as a destination. You're also assuming that you are happy. Happy is situation dependent. So if you said to me, Simon, are you happy? In what? Am I happy in my relationship? Yeah. Am I happy with COVID rules in Hong Kong? No. Am I happy with my work? Kinda. Some ways, yes. Some ways, no. It's situation dependent. I don't know how we judge happiness based on these things, because it's so complex.
And there's too much. It's too much.
Too much of a good thing. Like how many people as well? Is it good? Is it good to be overly happy? Because there's probably people listening to this that go, yes, it's really good to be happy. I want to be happy all the time. But if you're not, you don't push. You don't see what's the true limits of what your happiness can be if your happy is all you know. If you never have bad, do you have real good? If you never have bad, do I push for more? If I have bad, will I push this podcast? Would I do something that I'm truly passionate about? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
It's tough to say, and it's too much pressure put on happiness as being a default emotion. It can't possibly. Let's go back. Let's get the time machine and take us all back to caveman times. It's not about being happy. Let's take it back to Tudor times. It's not about being happy. It's about surviving, reproducing, producing as well. It wasn't about being happy. I do wonder if we went back to those sort of times, what is going on in their minds in terms of, do they sit there thinking, I'm happy, how can I create more happiness in my life? Or are they just doing because they were closer to the actual defaults? And someone who's overly happy, I think, is also living in a bit of denial, because life throws shit at everyone. Everyone. There's not a single person that's not had something happen to them, whether it's minor, whether it's major. It's not a single person. Life is going to throw stress at you, because that's what life is. So to be happy all the time, you're either very, very accepting, you're either very, very good at dealing with what life's throwing at you. But I don't know a single person that is genuinely happy all the time. I know people that are very realistic when the shit's thrown in their direction and they're going through stresses. But if those overly happy people, I'd say are just putting on a performance as well, which can be just as detrimental. It can work for a short period of time because you're in a more positive mindset, but you must be ignoring some things as well.
One of my favorite episodes of Joe Rogan ever was when he had Derren Brown on. It's in The Magician. I'm a huge fan of Derren Brown. If I can get him on this show, I'll be, oh my God. But I just think not only as a magician, but just some of the stoicism that he reads, and he's an amazing artist. He's just one of those people at school, you're just good at everything. I'm like, go away. But he seems to be a nice guy too. But he's like, people have this Western Disney idea of what happiness should be, that you wake up in the morning, you burst into song. And he goes, I would consider somebody happy if they wake out of bed and more days than not, they don't go look at their partner and go, what the fuck am I doing here? Like if more days than not, like, and obviously I'm that's an extreme view. I've never turned around and look at Elle and I'm not just saying this because she can probably hear me. And so what the fuck am I doing here? But it's that thing. It's like no one wakes up and goes, oh my God, it's the best day ever. And that's life, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's again down to, do you have what you want? But somewhere something's going to push an idea on you on what else you should want. You should want a wife that wants sex with you 3 times a day. You should want a better car. You should want a bigger house. You should want to travel to more different countries, because there's people selling something the other side of it. And that's what creates a lot of the unhappiness.
Or Instagram highlight reels, where people you see the travel, and you see the in shape, and you see the bits that are good. And like all you have to do is look at child stars who have had everything in inverted commas, and not all, but a lot of them go off the rails. And it's the pursuit. I think the process, the journey, and the pursuit is often far more important than the destination, within reason. This is actually proven to actually be disproved, like actually untrue. But I get the sentiment that is after there's a certain amount of money where research suggests that you become happier until you hit it. And I can't remember what the number is now, but then after that, it doesn't get better. And I think because you've worked hard to achieve X amount, and if you're handed X amount, there's no value to it. And it's a totally different existence.
Yeah, totally. And again, to be these people that we idolize, again, Chris Williamson talks about this a lot, and he spoke about it on Rogan with Tiger Woods, to be these people that are idolizing, that have more money, more success, more women, more wealth. To be that person, to enter their reality, we have to have had all those different things that have happened to them happen to us as well. And when you look at that in terms of like write down on a list, most people would probably just go with what they've got in the end, because they don't want to go through several horrific things that helped form that person to become that. Doesn't mean that every successful person has to have a ton of crap happen to them to become. We love this superhero origin story that someone went through struggle, and that's how they became who they were. You know, like the hero stories. It's not necessarily a blueprint for mankind. It's the hero story. It's fiction, but you can apply that to your life and live an amazing life, I'm sure. But not everyone has to apply these sort of things.
I was blown. My mind was blown with that story about his dad would push Tiger Woods, and he said I will stop at any time if you say the E word, being enough. And he never said it. I just thought that was mad.
That was crazy. I'd never heard that bit before.
So continue on with the controversy, and moving back into something we know maybe a little bit more about. Liver King, discuss.
Liver King, my favourite. I bought all his supplements, all his ancestral supplements, all his programs, because
just
I want to look
stick,
exactly like the teacher.
Stick in a bottle.
It's clearly steroid free.
Yeah, absolutely. He's so natural.
No one gets that big without eating copious amounts of raw. It's entertainment, isn't it?
Do you think he has implants? Do you think his abs are real? Because they talked about him, he had ab implants. What do you think?
People said that about Peter Andre. I'm like, really? Really? I don't know. Is that a thing? Is that even a procedure you could get? Wouldn't we not see? I've not seen a boot.
Do you remember the guy in Big Brother? Again, I don't watch the show like you don't, but there was that guy who was in Big Brother years ago. I don't remember, it's the British one, but he was overweight, but he had ab implants. And you just see these abs, unmovable abs sitting on top of his gut.
It's a real thing. So you can actually do that. Jesus. I guess, they do butt implants and all sorts now, don't they? So I don't know if they're implanted or not, but I certainly recognise some signs of steroid use there that more natural bodybuilding champions certainly do not have distended stomachs, etc. Vast vascularity on a constant basis. Very, very red skin. Very red.
Testosterone improves your testosterone, though, doesn't
it? Oh God, yeah.
What was the one before? There was the other supplement that was for a while that I can't. It's going to annoy me now, but I can't remember. But there was one for ages that you could buy. D-aspartic acid. That was the one. It was going to make you like so jacked. And I think it was in Michael Hearn's natural subs, because that's what he takes. Michael Hearn, the world's most natural bodybuilder.
That's going back. I remember years ago a CrossFit box that I helped. A guy did a nutrition seminar, paleo zone, whatever the fuck it was in that era, and it was good. But he was only talking about supplements. So nutrition expert, he was only talking about supplements.
The natural guy, right? The guy who goes and hunts for all his food. He goes, well, I've got to make sure I have this with my multivitamin and my omega-3s.
Funny thing was, this geezer who was doing it was tiny, and he was talking about all these different supplements that increase your muscle mass. I'm looking at him going, not taking any of this stuff, are you, bro? And I remember him bringing up D-aspartic acid, and you should take it with creatine because it enhances the absorbability of both. And it's like, nah, this ain't. It's not even relevant, is it? It's CrossFit. They're not worried about it. They don't want to get bigger. It's gonna ruin their Fran time. They don't want to get bigger. But these supplements, it's an odd game. And I do honestly, I swear someone showed something not so long ago that links him back to several companies. That he's almost like a character, like he's a paid character that's pushing these supplements, which is why sometimes when he's eating things or his missus is eating things, they don't look particularly chuffed, really. And again, it's just the new way that people are going to do this now. They, rather than coming up with a tagline or good copy or the right offer, can they just get someone whose virality is huge to push the thing for them instead? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Do you think there is legitimacy though? Because again, we look at sound bites, right? We see the carnivore diet, we see the ab implants potentially, and we see the potential steroids. I don't want to call out Liver King, but do we look at that and then actually not look at his content? Like people assuming Hustlers University is a con. Do you think there's actually good things to take? Because I've got
So
a
what-
PDF download.
yeah.
I've got his lead magnet
Really?
of his ancestral tenants.
That's true.
Do you know what they are? Do you know what they are?
Someone else did something like that. That's going to annoy me now because I won't remember.
So
Someone
here
else
we
did
go.
something like that.
Let me get it up. I think I've got it on my Google Drive. If I where is it? Liver King ebook. The 9 ancestral tenants. So obviously I'm going to tell you the tenants because this is free ebook, so I'm not giving away anything that is thing. Although sod's law, when I'm trying to get something on open while I'm on air, it doesn't want to load. Here we go. 9 ancestral tenants. Let me go through each one of them and see if you agree with each one of them. Right? Because I think we'll be surprised. We look at the controversy, but let's start with this. Number 1, sleep. Right? Absolutely down. Can't hurt.
But is it ancestral sleep? That's the thing.
Upside down in a tree.
Or is it ancestral sleep? You've got to sleep in a saber-toothed tiger's skin and
lying on the back of a bear. Next
and outside. Can't be indoors.
Eat. And in particular, eat like a wild beast. So you eating raw liver and bone marrow. Have you done that? But to be fair, though, like, eat enough calories, reduce trans fats, like eat more liver. Very nutrient-dense foods. I mean, what is your take on the carnivore diet? Do you think you dislike it, hate it? Is there a place for it in your mind?
I think in some way, shape, or form, you would get bored as hell, and I'm certain you would end up nutrient deficient in some way, long term.
Fiber being
one, antioxidants being another. I just don't see it being enough to just eat meat, right? But what he's doing in terms of higher nutrients types of food, the organs, livers, things like that, yes, cool, depending where you're getting it from. The cow liver that you get from, I don't know, Iceland is probably not as...
A chicken liver pate from Aldi.
Yeah. It's probably not as nutrient dense as the cow that he's allegedly killing himself and eating the liver right there.
Of course it is.
But in terms of you eat as close as you can to the land, you get as much nutrition from, so don't just eat lean meats all the flipping time. There is a place in your diet, if you like them, to have these organ meats because they are very, very nutrient dense. So in a way, I agree there, but not everyone needs bone marrow all the time. No, not everyone needs to eat liver all the flipping time. There's nothing wrong with a Foreman grilled chicken breast every now and then,
It's going things to extreme for the extreme purposes, right? Like it's making things difficult because we're fat. But on the flip side, I think if you've got major autoimmune conditions, I think like these things can help nutrient absorption when you're not blocking up your intestines. I mean, Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson are all perfect advocates of this, right? Tenet 3, move, which absolutely fair enough. I'm not reading all this at this moment in time, and I don't want to give away. Obviously, go and download Liver King's lead magnet for free on whatever. Can't remember the website, liverking.com probably. But move like our ancestors. And the picture she's got here is him doing a muscle up, and him holding a spear. Because I mean, is that what he's done? Like, are we missing a trick here? Because neither of us are as big as the Liver King, and do we need to throw more spears?
See, maybe that's what it is. We're not as big as the Liver King.
I would also argue that there's this you can't see his feet on this muscle up. So I wonder if there's someone underneath him just holding him up.
Probably is. So our ancestors did muscle ups. I was wrong all along, and the CrossFitters were right. I apologise. I take it back.
Here's where it goes really Poliquin. Shield thyself from danger. So shield is tenet number 4.
Okay.
Limit Wi-Fi and EMFs.
Oh, we're getting into environmental pollutants.
Seriously, are you eating liver yet? That's one of them. Drink your alcohol pure, like just straight vodka, like the Russian mafia. I mean, I think that might do you more harm than good.
Or ethanol, just pure ethanol, down it.
Replace non-native clothing and avoid fluoride. What is native clothing? polyester, still polyester, acrylic, and nylon.
Okay, I was reading about polyester recently. Apparently, it is pretty bad for your balls. Apparently.
Okay, good to know.
I'm gonna scour the internet. I'm gonna do this. I'm putting money down. I'm gonna find the video or photo of Liver King wearing Nike. I'm gonna find it. That is not clothing. It must exist. Where he just for a minute went, I can't find my native flip flops, but I need to run down the shop and get my bone marrow.
Well, he's wearing a baseball cap and some shorts.
But native to whom? Native to what?
Yeah, are you going to wear a Shaolin monk outfit?
Can we wear Indian headdresses again? Is that allowed again now? Because Liver King says so?
Yeah. Tenant 5, connect to the earth. So, as we've gone a bit silly with the last entry, connect to the earth is... oh, no, sorry, take it back. Hug a tree is the first paragraph. Morning light, and turn lights off at night. Okay, I'm game with that. That's great. Barefoot walks and hikes. I like the walks and hikes. Barefoot hikes might hurt your feet a little bit. And he is barefoot in these pictures, so fair play to him. He is doing those. Take sleep to the ground. Don't go to your bed. Don't that bed you spent money on. Get outside, mate. Sleep on the road. Tenant 6, cold.
I'm
quite a fan of cold therapy.
Sure.
You?
I want to do it. I really want to do it more. The gym I currently work from in October are opening a new branch that's going to have some cold chambers in there. I'm going to do my absolute best to use them as regularly as I can. I like the idea of cold plunge therapy and cold showers, but sometimes I just can't be asked to stand in a cold shower first thing in the morning.
I think for blood flow, there's benefits of blood flow. Though I think there's brilliance of resilience to stress.
Yes,
the immune system and blood flow is irrefutable, but I think resilience to stress, that like something happens, like it doesn't respond to a stress at work or something, but being able to control your breathing at times of stress, I think will have a knock-on effect at any time when you're struggling to control your breathing.
100%. Yeah, that's it. That's literally your only reasons for doing it, which granted means everyone maybe should do it. I don't know. But obviously, you take anything, cold shower therapy, Liver King's ancestral sleep box, whatever the fuck, and someone else will then go, well, actually, the cold shower mobilizes your brown fat, and it will raise your testosterone. It'll also save your hairline. It'll do this. And before you know it, you've got, I don't know, Shower King's.
Shower King's cold penis enlarging moisturizer.
So who fucking knows?
I haven't got that, I promise. 7,
Sun, cool.
Totally fine. I took that absolutely. 10 at 8, fight. Little risky. Little risky telling people to fight.
Can we fight online? Can it be like Keyboard Warrior?
I don't know. Bring novelty into everything you do. Sprint towards hard shit and get fucking cold. These don't sound like fighting.
Not fighting, really, is it? Novelty in everything you do.
Pick a fist fight. And then Bond. I don't think that's Bond.
James Bond.
James Bond. That is. Yeah. I'm in. I'm signed up. Where do you?
I'm sold. Get me in that program.
I tell you what, this is my favourite one, right? And there's 2 reasons for this. Firstly, because it's like put down your phone, build your tribe, reconnect with your tribe, and adopt a dog.
Nice.
The other reason is that he's put about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plates each side of a bench press. With what I think are nylon wrist supports. Ancestral wrist supports.
That's not native. That's non-native. That's not native clothing.
You should have got a leaf. Just wrapped it around his wrist.
Again, moving like our ancestors. Did our ancestors do bench press? Plate-loaded bench press?
Well, if you need to push a bear over, how else do you expect to do it? He might have many bears around where he lives. I know he lives in the woods, but you know,
move like our ancestors. But I don't know, man. I don't think our ancestors had good posture.
I like how he has wrist supports, but he doesn't have a beard trimmer.
Well, it might have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth beard trimmers. You can't Can't risk that. Get EMF poisoning.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know how to use one. When I grew my attempt at a Liver King beard, Ellie hated it, but I found it was the most freeing thing I've ever done in my life. So maybe there is something in this. There is some great like curly beard shots. And it will be immortalized for life because Muscle Nerds did their advert for their nutrition course that they do twice a year. So every now and again, the first person that comes up at the start of it is me with this beard out here. I was like, I'm so proud of myself because it took me until about the age of 30 to even manage to grow a beard that long. And I'm like, at least I have that. I have that thing. Even if she hates it and never wants me to have it again, at least I have that.
So that's it. Maybe that's what we've been wrong all along. Mine's never gone over, I don't know, I guess, a 7mm. Never. I just can't. I ain't got the patience. It gets itchy. Can't be bothered. I like the designer stubble and razor sharp jawline look. I prefer that. The girls I'm with prefer that. I'm not a big fan of as much as I could have held JP Cronin as a Tate's Liver King, Poliquin style guru when it comes to the beard. I could have gone down that rabbit hole, but I'm an individual. It's not for me. It's not for me. Then he shaved it. He shaved his anyway, isn't he? Is he beardless at the moment?
What has he done? What has he done? I'm not going to tag him in this. God forbid. God forbid. I would literally, the comment would be, "Pussies, you can't grow a beard anyway," or something like that. Wouldn't it? Like, Jesus. But like, yeah, like going back to Liver King, and I haven't opened the bonus ebook, Ancestral Test Prop, but not calling out Liver King. This is speculation station.
Oh God!
But I think the thing with that, we look at that, right? There are 9 tenants, and about 7 of them, in some way, shape, or form, I wholeheartedly agree with.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And I think this goes back to the whole thing of like podcast I say every episode, we all come round in circle. And I think it shows that how much we hear sound bites. We see the things, and the controversy has made Liver King a lot of money. But I'll tell you what, if you followed that diet, you get in shape.
You get in shape. You just wouldn't be able to follow him exactly as his social media pertains that he's eating. Especially if you live in a city. No chance. 0 chance.
And I would also add, all the arguments about people saying like about he's not natural, right? Has he ever claimed that he is?
I want to say that he did, but I can't be quoted on that because it could have just been a media firm saying otherwise. It could have just been someone making bollocks up that they called him out and he didn't respond, or I don't know. I don't actually know. I'd have to look deeper into that.
Because if he hasn't, I don't care.
But also, I'm not going to look deeper into it because I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
It doesn't affect I generally, and this is another topic for another day as well, but I generally think people put too much weight in this. Your choice, your physique, we do what you want. As long as you're not claiming that people can, as long as you're not introducing a supplement called natural subs, I don't care. And
it's also, again, it comes back to what I was saying earlier, where your attention's going. It's funny that you said when we do this talk Liver King as well. It occurred to me that I haven't seen one of his videos for a long time. So part of me thought, okay, is this the end of Liver King? The attention's gone. It's my attention. I don't watch his videos anyway. When he first came out, I did. I don't watch him anyway because it offers no value to my life at all. So the algorithms go, well, he's not watching Liver King. Don't show him Liver King anymore. But he's obviously still out there and still big, if not bigger. I don't know because
probably literally bigger. But like Andrew Tate and Liver King, I find them both fascinating. And if they ever see this video, they are both more than welcome to come on the show. Like we've taken the odd pop, but I may not agree with everything about both of them, but I respect a lot of what both of them have done. And I think this goes back to that point of like they are successful in their own right. And I think that is to be admired, regardless whether you like or dislike them. And the whole point of controversy is that they're there to create an impact. They're not there for everyone to like them. That is the point.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to who do you want your guru to be and how honest they are. Are you being really, really manipulated? The guys have got Bugattis, right? You can't just go and buy, and no one can go and buy or rent a Bugatti for the day and take loads of videos and photos of it and pretend they've got the Bugatti. But you could go to a car park in Dubai and take a ton of photos in front of someone else's Lambo and pretend you've got a Lambo and join in your six-figure fitness business mentorship is going to get you your own Lambo, even though they haven't got one. But the guys seem to have exactly what they're claiming to have, really. Okay, granted, they didn't get it the way that Hustlers University is promoting, but at the same time, they also can't really teach people. They can't then say to everyone, right, here's how you're going to get wealthy. You're going to save all your money from kickboxing championships. You're going to buy webcam studios. You're going to get X amount of girls working for you. You're going to invest into this stock. You're going to invest into this crypto. This person's going to do this for you. Because everyone's then going to go, shit, I can't do that. Of course I can't do it. Of course I can't fucking do it. But I don't also see that they're similar to Liver King, like you're saying. Is he claiming to be natural? I don't see the Tates claiming that Hustlers University methods is what made them their money either.
Yeah, I also say that, but like natural or not, I generally believe, whether it will work for everyone or not, whatever you think of those methods, I generally believe, for the most part, within reason, he kind of lives that life. I think he lives in the woods, and I don't like maybe not to extent. I think he trains, but I think he goes outside and he does things and he gets in sunlight and he, and I think he grows out a big beard, but somehow shaves his chest. And I generally believe that he kind of lives that life. I believe he's eating the carnivore diet for the most part with a bit of food. So. Yeah, and that's integrity, I think.
Yeah, really. When you think about it, if that is what he's actually doing, and granted, a lot of the people call him out. Liver King, call him out because you watch some of these vids and he's eating these things and he looks visibly disgusted and his missus looks visibly disgusted. But some of those things aren't going to taste nice. Not every part of an animal is going to taste nice. You're allowed to have these natural reactions to things where you gag a little bit and go, look.
Not every part of your diet has to taste amazing either. We've said this in previous shows before.
True. Exactly.
So going into a couple of closing questions, because we can rant about this all day.
Good.
We have now talked for probably about an hour and 10 about the most controversial opinions. So we should be pretty good at seeing opportunity in controversy now than ever before. So I want to ask you two questions. Firstly, what is your most controversial opinion?
Do you want to give me an area, or do you just want me to
just go wherever you want, mate?
Out.
As long as it's going to take you it'll take you an hour to think of one, and then I'll help you. But otherwise, if you've got one, just roll with it.
My most controversial opinion, and this is ridiculous, right? This shows how ridiculous it is, but this will trigger X amount of people. My most controversial opinion is that God is real. That's my most controversial opinion. God is real.
Interesting.
But again, there's nuances to that claim. Okay. Because you've got to look at the context of what is God. Am I talking about the Christian God? Am I talking about Hindu gods? Am I talking about Buddhist gods, which there are many? Am I talking about what am I talking about? I'm not necessarily just sitting there and saying the Bible is real, but my most controversial opinion is that all these religious texts are just the way back then that through language and through storytelling, they could log history, and things obviously got twisted and things obviously got forgotten and things got rewritten again and again and again. But I believe they're all telling the same story, which is, this is where we could go even deeper. We go down Prometheus theory that, it's the God is not just whatever created the universe, but is what created us on this planet through some sort of genetic manipulation. I believe that's what they're all telling us, the same story of our creation. We sit here wondering where we come from, how we actually came. We've got scientists studying this all the time, but I think we're missing a big... picture.
Oh, you lost yourself. Yeah, I think I got you back. Don't worry.
I was talking bollocks anyway. That bit weren't important.
The follow-up to that is, in the last question I was, if you were gonna make a product based off this opinion, what would it include? And this is so interesting you said religion, because we could just do the Church of Scientology. Like, what would it be?
God, a product based around my claim that God is real. Here's how you talk to him. So it would be, no, it can't be a physical product. It would have to be some sort of meditative seminar that everyone comes to, and we all sit together and we connect to God. And I've got paid stooges on the stage, like the crazy American
Hallelujah
preachers and whatever. But I wouldn't go down that route. I wouldn't go down that route. I would be. How could you create a product around it? There we are. Okay, got it. I've got it. I saw an amazing little TikTok the other day. Just really, really stuck with me. This guy's got YHWH tattooed on him, and he's explaining what it means. And when in the Bible, when Moses asked God what his name was, God replied, I am. My name is I am, or something like that. Which translated, if we go backwards, is Yahweh, which everyone knows is another name for God. Yahweh is quite featured often in religious texts and religious ceremonies, things like that. But there's scholars that reckon you go further, it was actually YHWH. And we just had a propensity for vowels, so we stuck the vowels in. And they were trying to figure out what this actually represents, and they think it represents the breath. The YH representing a breath in, the WH representing a breath out. So therefore, God's name is in every single breath. I don't want to get too religious or too crazy. Is in every single breath that we take. Don't take God's name in vain. Don't waste a single breath. So, you can start making all these different connections and it kind of makes sense, whether it's true or not. So I would do I wouldn't call it ancestral, but whatever it is, whether it's the ancestral breath protocol, connect with God through your breathing, something like that. Something like that. And there'll be a pill. There'll be a pill you can take as well. Of course there will. Got to get some merch.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I have to
draw a proper.
I like that. I don't know. When I wrote these questions, I was trying to think of an answer I give myself, and I don't know. It would probably be. I'm thinking probably conspiracy based. Most controversial opinions probably like I'm not entirely buying the narrative we got around 9/11. So if you created a company that demolishes buildings, like any company, charge people to see it and take notes, like a conspiracy theorist research project. So the building pays me to demolish the building, and I make extra revenue by that can maybe also be split with the company that's getting their building demolished for you to watch it and to take notes about how it comes down. That could make a lot of money.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it comes down to what we were talking about at the start. What is a controversial opinion? What is a controversial opinion? Okay, 9/11 certainly is a controversial opinion. It goes against a lot of beliefs. A religion certainly is a controversial opinion. It's all conversations worth having.
I think that is a perfect line to end the show in. All conversations worth having. So
as was it one.
There we go. So obviously you've been on lots of these. You're going to be on many, many more. So people should know you by now. But if anyone's coming onto this for the first time, where can people find you? Because this show we just chat shit, and it's not always about fitness. And obviously that's what you do. You coach. You also copyright. You also do graphic design coming soon potentially, and maybe you'll see a bit of this on the YouTube channel version of this. If you would like his work. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and how people find you.
So the 3 places you can find me, one of which you're less likely to find me unless you act very, very soon. But the 3 places you can find me are on an online and in-person coaching company, fat loss coaching company called the Fat Loss Fast Lane on every social media platform you could possibly think of. So if you're looking to lose fat, that's where you want to go. If you are a fitness professional or a coach in any sort of industry, you can follow me on Copy Domination, where I'm not trying to be a business coach. I'm trying to build an agency that will provide several services that will allow you to retain your sovereignty and your autonomy as a coach with a self-serving business, whether that is through copywriting, graphic design, website building, whatever the hell it's going to be, or even scheduling ads, without having to give your hard-earned thousands to a scammy business coach. If you want to find me there, you go on Copy Domination. Again, every single media platform out there now. If you just want to hear me talk shit, UFOs, simulation theory, women, Tate, whatever the hell, just find me on my own Instagram at Robb Core. But I'll be brutally honest, that's going to become private soon because I ain't got the time or the energy to run 3 different Instagram accounts. And it makes sense that I look at my business ones more, and I'll just share photos of my friends and my dinner like we used to years ago on Instagram on my personal one. I guarantee it. Give me 3 months. Give me 3 months on my fat loss one. I'll be talking UFOs again anyway. So
I think you should. I think you missed a trick. I remember when Instagram used to be the place for photographers to make money, And now that's a hard place to do that now. It really is.
We took photos of our dinner. Everyone's first Instagram photo was a photo of their feet. They didn't necessarily post it. And then things got a little bit weird. Things got a little bit crazy. Look at it now. It's not even photo now, is it? Jesus.
Well, mate, thank you very much again. Always good fun. We've got a number of topics to go on to the next one now. What was the one we were saying earlier? The ghosts. We've got to talk ghosts and aliens.
Got to talk flip-flop ghosts, aliens.
Flip-flop ghosts and aliens. And there was one. I was thinking dating.
I want to know a bit more. Maybe dating. I want to know a bit more about ancestral footwear. And I'll see what I can find.
A list of clothes that are ancestral approved and ones that aren't. Right, Rob. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Speak soon.
Thank you.